Hello everyone, how are you? It's such an honor to be with you. The last time I was here, it was last year, it was before 5782, so pleasure to be with you in this moment in time. I just wanted to share, just thinking about Rachel, who dedicated this session today to her father. I'm also very close with my father, and I've been spending a lot of time with him recently, so just really feeling that for you. So thank you wherever you are. And again, really just an honor to be with the IJS community. I'm a big fan, and I think for a long time I felt like I had to choose between being a Jewish educator and being a yoga teacher, mindfulness teacher, and this community shows me what's possible when both can be together. So thank you for having me and existing. And for our meditation today, I wanted to do a little bit of framing around journeys, around seeking and finding. And these are some themes that are really present in this week's Parsha and Parshat Vayitze. So I just want to give a little bit of context to that, and then we'll be able to dive in a little bit inward and see what we find within ourselves today. So if you may or may not have read what our Parsha for the week is, but I'll just give you a little bit of background here. So we have Jacob, who's the son of Isaac, and he leaves Beersheba and he goes to Haran. And there he goes to sleep at night, and he has this dream, this famous dream of the angels going up and down the ladder. And in that dream, God promises that all of his descendants will have a land. And when he wakes up from this dream, he is so moved by this incredible vision that he names that place as sacred. He calls it Bethel, house of God, because something incredible happened there. And so he makes a promise back to God, vowing to give a portion of his belongings, and God promises to keep him safe. Then fast forward, Jacob continues his journey. He meets a beautiful woman named Rachel, who he seeks to marry. And if you remember, there's a little bit of drama in this part of the story, that Rachel's father, Laban, says, yes, if you work for me, you can marry Rachel. You just have to work for 7 years. So Jacob, so in love, works for 7 long, hard years and goes to marry Rachel. But very sneaky, Laban actually presents Leah, his oldest daughter, to be married to Jacob, because that was the rule in that part of town. But Jacob was like, wait, I wanted to marry Rachel. So he says, all right, if you want to work another 7 years, then you can marry Rachel. And the man is in love, so he does it. And in this time, in the 20-year period of time that he is there with this family, he has 13 children between Rachel, Leah, and their handmaidens, Zilpah and Bilhah. And there's a lot of different things that happen during that time. We won't get into the drama of it all. It's I feel like the Torah is like the original reality show with all of these things that happen. But it's 20 years there, and he finally wants to journey back home to Canaan, to the land of his ancestors. And so he wants to sneak away when Laban isn't there, and Laban finds out and tries to pursue him, and there ends up being a little bit of drama there because Laban accuses him of stealing an idol. But long story short, they make peace. And in that place where they made peace, it's called Mount Gilead. And in that time, just as he did at Bethel, he places a stone and marks that space and time as a very important place and a very important moment, and there are blessings. And from that point, Jacob and his family continue, and they enter Canaan, where they're greeted by angels. And so we have a few different themes, big things that stick out to me in this parsha. And a couple of those things are, one, the act of marking space with a stone and making it sacred. Second, this idea of finding, searching, and returning. We see God promising to return Jacob safely. We see Jacob finding love, Laban looking for his idol, Jacob returning to the land. So there's this big theme of looking and seeking and searching. And something that I had learned recently in the Talmud is the the Even HaToem, if anyone's ever heard of this, and I hope I'm saying it right, but this was actually the original lost and found. And you might be wondering, well, what is that? And this was a stone. This was a very large stone in the middle of the ancient city of Jerusalem, and this was called the Claimant Stone. And anyone who lost something would be directed there to declare that they were looking for an item. And similarly, those who found a lost object would go to the stone and wait at the stone and declare that they had found an item. And in that place, at that stone, people would share, upon that stone, those who have lost and those who have found would seek out each other. And it's interesting to think about this for a moment, because if you imagine a lost and found in our world today, it's just a box, or it's a corner somewhere in a JCC or some office. You just leave things and you don't really think about it. But this wasn't a place of just dropping things off. The seeker would have to wait for the person until the item was found, and the finder would have to wait for the seeker. And so perhaps it wasn't about the item at all. It was about the person that you meet along the way on your journey as you're searching or as you've found something. And I had a couple questions, of course, because that's what we do as Jews, we ask. And I wondered, did the sages come up with this system so that people wouldn't feel alone? Did they want us to console each other when we lost something? Did they want us to hold accountability maybe when we found something? Or did they want us to simply rejoice in seeing the finder hold their object once again? So we have this special stone. And just like Bethel, when Jacob erected a stone, and Mount Gilead, where they made peace and they had a special stone, I thought about the meaning of places. And if you take a moment to think about in your life where something meaningful has happened, I want to invite you right now to think about a place where you found something of meaning, maybe something tangible or intangible, a special object, or a place where you learned something about yourself. That place is just a place, but because you found something or you discovered something or something happened there is what makes it meaningful. So in this idea of searching, just as we've kind of followed Jacob and his family on this journey of searching and finding and returning again, we search within ourselves to find meaning and understanding. And on the pursuit of that, we cultivate practices of listening and awareness so that we can attend to ourselves. And over time, we hope to do this without judgment. That's why we sit and practice. That's why we come together to meditate. And very often in wellness and personal development spaces, sometimes people carry a narrative of trying to fix the broken parts of themselves, searching for the why and the how of pain existing. And those are important questions, but sometimes in that harsh investigating, we lose the map of ourselves. We forget to hold what is and just listen to what we need. So to find ourselves is to hold what was lost without attachment to what was or wasn't, but to metaphorically meet ourselves at the stone and hold ourselves when we found that thing, or if we're looking for something, be ready to receive ourselves at that stone and ask what it is that we need in that moment and explore where we can go and what we hope to find. And so that's a little bit about ourselves, and in the same way, we can explore that when connecting with others as well, when we're building community, when we're with family and friends and our loved ones, that we can be witness to others on their journeys of searching and finding. And one of my favorite sayings by famous American spiritual teacher, Baba Ram Dass, he says, "We're all just walking each other home." And so that came to mind in thinking about this stone and searching and finding home within ourselves. And just like Jacob was blessed by God to be safeguarded until his return, we too are blessed and safeguarded as we walk along our journey, wherever it may lead us. And so for today, and maybe as you go into the rest of your week, I invite you to wonder. I invite you to wonder about, what are you searching for, and how can you meet yourself there? And if there is a special place where you like to do that, or maybe where you have done that or will do that, how will you mark that place with meaning? How can you make a special stone to mark that you were there and that it was important? So thank you so much for being present with us, and may this inspire some finding of something along the way. And we'll now move into our meditation space. And so wherever you are finding comfort in your body and in your spaces, begin to settle in a little bit more. And I invite you to breathe in, bring your shoulders up to your ears and roll them down and back, and allow your arms to just settle on your side, on your lap, wherever you are. Take a gentle swallow. Unclench your jaw, and take a deep breath down into your belly. Feel your chest expand. Exhale, let it go to land here. And when you're ready to gently close your eyes, turn your attention inward to that question of how we can meet ourselves at the stone. Deep breath in, full breath out as we continue to settle. We'll take the next period of time to search inward. And wherever you are, beginning to notice your breath. Noticing the cool air as you breathe in through your nose, and the warm air as you breathe out through your mouth. And gently inviting some movement into your toes and fingers. Gently inviting yourself back into your space, your makom, into your body and into your home. And when you're ready, you can gently bring your palms together in front of you and rub your palms to create some warmth. Energizing the body once again, and then we'll separate the hands and place the inside of your palms over your eyes. And slowly flutter your eyes open to softly bring yourself back into the world, inviting all of yourself to settle back in. And as we close, I invite you, anyone, all of you, to share in the chat if there were any thoughts that came to mind of searching or finding, or ideas of how you might meet yourself at the stone, at the claimant stone of lost and found. We would love to see what came to surface for you. It's been such a pleasure to breathe with you all this morning, and may you continue on your journeys of searching and finding yourselves and all those you love with all the blessings. Thank you so much. I'm seeing from Mark. Beautiful. Being in the in-between.
Thank you so much, Kimmy. Friends, we seal our practice. Feel free to add and respond to Kimmy's invitation. We seal our practice, as we always do, with an opportunity for those who are mourning or observing yard sites to join in the practice of reciting Kaddish. And you're welcome to share the name or names of those you're holding in your heart today, honoring today, in the chat box as well, either now or after you recite Kaddish. And for those who are not reciting Kaddish, to be compassionate witnesses and loving presence for those who are. I invite you, if you're saying Kaddish, to join me by rising in body or in spirit. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah v'yamad divrach chilutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yonechon v'chayeh v'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'man kariv imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba Barach Le'olam Amaya
Yitbarach v'yishtabach
Yishtar v'yikarmam v'yitnaseh Yitadar
v'yitalev
v'yitalal
shemei
U'ishma
d'kedusha b'rechu
La'elam min kol birkat
v'yirata
shurata Tushbechata
shvachata
v'nashmata Ta'amiram ba'alma imru
Amen.
Yehi
Yehi
Shlama
shlama
Rabba
Rabba
Maya
Maya
Chaim Aleinu
V'yalkol Yisrael
Amen.
Amen.
Oseh
Aseh
Shalom
shalom
V'Ramav
v'na'amav
Yaseh
Aseh shalom
Shalom Aleinu
Aleinu
V'Yakol
v'yalkol
Yisrael
Yisrael
V'Yakol Yoshvei
v'yalkol yoshvei
Tevel
tevel
Imru
v'yimru
Amen.
Amen.
Friends, thanks for joining us as always today. Great to be with you. I want to thank our teacher for today, Kimmy Dueñas of Jutina Eco. I have to stop the link. We'll put the link back in there in a second. of course, want to thank Rachel Sheinin for sponsoring our practice today in memory of your dad, Joe Sheinin. Zichrono Livracha, may his memory be a blessing, Rachel. Thank you so much for supporting our practice today and honoring your dad so beautifully in this way. Thanks to Adi Stein, as always, behind the scenes, holding our tech container, our Mishkan, so beautifully. You're welcome to stay on for about 15 minutes of conversation and questions and answers with Kimmy Dueñas about today's beautiful teaching and practice. And for those who are joining us tomorrow, just to let you know that we'll be led in practice tomorrow by Yiska Smith, who'll be joining us from Jerusalem, on Wednesday by Rabbi Deborah Ornstein, Thursday by Rabbi Daniel Raphael Silverstein, also joining us from Israel, and I'll be leading us on Friday as we sit into Shabbat for practice. So we hope you'll join us for any or all of those opportunities for practice. And again, all the sessions are recorded, posted on our YouTube channel. Please do subscribe to that if you haven't already. And a reminder, gentle reminder to respond to the SurveyMonkey link for those of you who would like to offer us feedback on last week's meditation intensive with Sam Kleinsmith. If you have a question for Kimmy Dueñas, or just a response, continuing to put your responses to the practice in the chat box. I see I haven't looked at it yet, but it looks like there's a lot of beautiful stuff being posted there. Kimmy, thank you so much. Really special. And you said long story short at some point. You said like, wow, you did a great job making a long story short there. There's a lot. This is quite an action-packed Torah portion. But you pointed out it's framed, when just to like hold out the highlights, it's framed by these two stories about Jacob leaving home and then on his way back home 20 years later, both of which have to involve stones, right? He has the dream puts his head down, he collects stones and goes to sleep. And in this one case, it's a very different story, or it looks like a very different story, but he's pursued by this guy, Laban, who's got a grievance, and they, as you said, they make peace and erect this what the Torah describes as a gal, which is the Hebrew word that usually means wave, but it really, in this case, it's a heap. It's like a wave of stones, which I thought is also like a beautiful thing. And they have a meal too, right? They have a picnic together, and it's clearly like this moment of healing too. But it's it's provisional. But anyway, what I got from that, I'm just sharing, what came up for me was the power of the role of stones in Jewish life. Mark Shamaria shared a poem, which maybe Mark, you can share it with the group if you're still here, about 18 stones and about noting the ritual of placing stones on headstones when we visit the loved ones. So all this is by way of just saying, sharing what I got from it and thanking you for that. I guess I wanted to just ask you maybe to elaborate if you want to on any aspect of it, but I was thinking that that liminal experience of being, on the way between one place to another, and like speak to you as somebody who I know has been doing a lot of traveling, and also the question about where's home right now, and the Ram Dass quote, that beautiful Ram Dass quote of we're walking each other, always walking each other home. Seems to me there's a paradox between the space between past and future, or exile and home, and the solidity of the stone. Something that also in Jewish tradition represents God, the divine presence, right? Sur Yisrael, the rock of Israel, or since we're into Kislev now, Ma'od Sur, rock of Israel, rock of ages. So there's something about the paradox of something that is like the most permanent thing we can think of as in the physical realm, and the impermanence of being in this in-betweenness of or becomingness, maybe. I don't know. That's I'm putting that in the form of a question. I don't know if you have any comment on that or whether that resonates with you. But
Yes. I love how you frame that in the physical form of sturdiness, of permanence in the stone, and then the everything else, the in between, the all the unknown. Um, and I think about what life would be without the stones in our life,
Hmm.
in our world, the
Hmm. Hmm.
physicality to ground us, and it has so much meaning. What comes to mind in Jewish tradition, of course, in our history, the temple, all
Hmm.
stone in Jerusalem, and
Hmm.
that what we feel in the absence of that temple as well.
Hmm.
So there's a lot there, and it sounds like to me that having stones or something permanent grounds us in our experience of so much impermanence. And we've experienced a lot of uncertainty and impermanence, especially in the last couple of years, in the last 18 months, or who knows how long it's been. So we've needed things in our lives to hold us down, whether it's our home, our family, our health, whatever it is. So I think stones take lots of different forms and shapes, but we need both, because
Hmm.
we're only just searching for the permanent, the sturdy,
Hmm.
the guarantee, then our ability to grow is limited, and we're only able to get so far without getting in our own way. But I can, and so that's I'm playing with that in my mind.
That's
And thank
great.
you for lifting that. And I'd also like to share something interesting about stones that's very present in my life right now. And just for everyone, I'd love to share where I'm at in my life right now, and this idea of home and forming.
Hmm.
I'm so my family is from El Salvador, my father's family. He was born and raised there, and their family moved from, they're Sephardic Jews that left during the Inquisition that made home in Central America. And so, like many other folks in that region, are people who have returned to Judaism. My dad was a converso, a crypto Jew, and he was the only one of 7 children in his family to return to Judaism, which is really incredible. And I've been on a personal journey of identity, and that's what brought me to my work at Jutina Eco, where we're building and nurturing Latin Jewish life. And in the pandemic, with my life being remote, I made I feel very blessed to have the ability to move and travel. And so I made the choice recently to move to El Salvador to be with my family members and to learn about our roots. And last week, I just moved there at the end of last month, so just very recently. But last week was very significant in my journey, and it has to do with stones in a big way, because we were celebrating Dia de los Muertos, which is Day of the Dead. And I have a lot of family. Most of my family is Catholic, and they're practicing Catholics. And we have some of our family who were crypto Jews, and they lived their Catholic or Christian lives publicly, their Jewish lives at home, but when they were buried, they had crosses on their graves, because that was their community. And so everyone who I went to go visit, all of my ancestors that we visited last week for this holiday, which is a national celebrated day of going to visit your all of your elders and ancestors, everyone had a cross as at their burial site. And I had visited before, but I'm in a different place in my life now. And when I went with my father to go visit my abuela, my grandmother, who was the one who taught him about our Jewish roots and kept those stories alive, my father and I each found stones and placed them on
Mm.
her, on the
Mm.
cross at the cemetery.
Mm.
In that moment, it was just so significant to recognize the story of survival and resilience. And I actually have, I can show you all. I have this beautiful Magen David necklace that my father just gave to me recently, and this was a necklace that he bought after he moved to the U.S. when he was 20 years old, and he was on his path of returning to Judaism. Before he could even speak English, he was starting to learn Hebrew and about his Jewish faith. And so he bought this 50 years ago, and he gave this to me. And I've been wearing it ever since. And so I was wearing this at the cemetery and placing that stone. And so you can just imagine how powerful that was. And it was very emotional, because I could imagine my ancestors leaving Spain and Portugal,
Wow.
fleeing persecution for me to arrive in this moment. So stones mark time and significance in such a powerful way. And that's just been really, really present for me. And so when I think about home now, I consider El Salvador home. And I know ultimately I have home in me, but in this chapter of my life, home is where my ancestors are. And I'm very excited to see where that's going to lead me.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that, Kimmy. That's like, it's so moving. I mean, it's deep, it's really moving. Thank you so much for sharing that. There's a very practical question, and then I actually wanted to take, before we end, actually, I'm sure people would really love to hear a little bit about the work of Jutina Eco and what, what you're doing, and about lifting up the Latin Jewish culture. So maybe there's a real quick answer to the practical question. I'm just gonna make sure everyone else is muted. But can you unmute yourself now? Yeah. Okay. So I was going to ask you. The question was, you invited people to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, like the coolness through the nose and warmth of the breath through the mouth. Is that the way to do it, or is that one option? Can you breathe in and out through your nose?
There are many.
What's your go-to there?
There are lots of different ways to breathe, but I studied yoga in India, and that was something that, I mean, and even in my course, there are many different styles of breathing, depending if you want to energize yourself, if you want to relax yourself. There's different lengths of time in different parts of your chest, your lungs, or your stomach. It can get very technical, but in general, when you're just trying to balance yourself and your breath, trying to create equal inhales in through the nose and exhales out through the mouth, that stabilizes the breath. And so again, that's just one way of breathing, but you can certainly play with those things. And for example, just breathing in and out of the nose is more energizing, and out of the mouth tends to be more relaxing. Mm-hmm. I invite whoever asked that question to maybe do some researching online and just play with your own breathing and see how that feels. Perfect.
So we have about 3 minutes. What can you tell us about Jutina Eco?
Yes, your first question. So Jutina, we started about 2 years ago. It was really, Jutina was created in response to seeing that there are a lot of Latin Jews in the world that their stories haven't been told. A lot of people weren't aware of the Latin Jewish community, particularly the diversity of the Latin Jewish community, that we are a multi-ethnic, multicultural, multilingual people. And so we started as a storytelling organization collecting these stories. And since then, we've grown into a virtual community where we have a leadership program, a monthly healing circle, as well as this ongoing storytelling project. And so we're really seeking to nourish and build Latin Jewish community as much as possible. And if anyone in this room identifies as a Latin Jew, please come and join our community and share your story. We have a living library on our website of stories from all over the world, as well as a podcast. So definitely please tune in. And if you are an ally, just a Jewish community member, anyone in the world, please come check out our work and definitely let people know about who we are and what we're doing.
Thanks for that. Really, kol hakavod. Lots of honor for this holy work, and the whole thing is just really moving, Kimmy. One last thing here, which is that when we're this juxtaposition of the word hamakom, the place, and also the stone. Just throwing this into the mix because we were talking about the custom of placing stones on headstones or on graves, and the traditional response when encountering someone who's in mourning is to say hamakom yinachem etchem. So it just occurred to me, like that someone earlier referenced that hamakom is their favorite name in Jewish tradition for God. And I just wanted to lift that up. Not everybody knows that. One of the names of God, which is an impersonal reference, for understanding God, is hamakom, the place, which, as you described, can be any place or every place where we are, where we wake up and have consciousness, which is just one more way I think of understanding the teaching you brought of being through awareness of transformation, whether it's the big moments, like you were saying, like think of that big moment, to thinking about what appears to be a mundane moment, and to treat every moment as that moment of being Jacob coming home, every moment as that being that moment of Jacob leaving home, that we're always leaving, we're always coming home, but that we can have a sense of connection through the stone at Hamakom. So I want to thank you for lifting that up. I'm going to go look for my stones right now. I have a bunch of engraved stones. And wish you safe travels back to El Salvador, and that you have a wonderful, wonderful visit home with your family there, and may it be a rich and deep experience for you. And come back soon to lead us again. We're really so happy to have you.
It's an honor to be here, and wishing everyone a beautiful week ahead. And thank you so much, Mark, and the whole community.
Okay. Oh, I see Elena is asking, so Hamakom Yenachem Etchem means may the place be compassionate, or have compassion upon you in the process of your mourning. Just to throw that in. Thanks, Kimmy, for putting in the email and the link to the website. Thank you so much again, Kimmy. Thank you to Rachel for sponsoring us. Thanks to ID, and most of all, thanks to all of you for your beautiful devotion to our practice together. Hope to see you tomorrow to practice with you.